The nice thing about votes is when we're waiting to vote, we get a chance to speak to some of the witnesses off record. So I just want to say thank you so much to the mayor for the conversation. And that conversation, just for the rest of the committee, it's had to do with an article down in right next door to my riding, Chatham, Kent, Leamington. It had to do with Roma, so the Rural Ontario Municipalities Association. And there was a lot of, there still is a lot of major concern with regard to the drainage. So I understand near 1 million acres of drainage between Toronto and Windsor. There's a fight because the railroads are not paying their fair share, so taxpayers will be on the hook. So thank you again, Mayor, for that. I'll switch gears over to the next news article I have from Tuesday, July 27, 2021, when then Minister Agbra came to the Windsor area, and the headline is Federal Transportation Minister says Windsor to Toronto will be phase 2 of high frequency rail project, which in and of itself is exciting. Mr. Eaton, I listened to your testimony keenly, and I love the fact at the very end, you talked about Detroit to Windsor. And so, in your opinion, because this is phase 2, today for Amtrak, Detroit to Windsor, and you spoke about high frequency rail up to 110 miles an hour, I understand, in the United States. What impact will it be if the Windsor to Toronto corridor doesn't get done for the folks that you're looking to move to Windsor? Because my concern is once you get to Windsor, you're kind of stagnant. Thoughts?
Mr. Chair, thank you for the question, Mr. Minister. I think the existing, well, first of all, we're working very closely and very hard to establish that service between Windsor and Detroit. So I think we're, even though without the high frequency corridor. So I think that connectivity will provide some utility. However, obviously, as in my testimony, as we continue to invest in the services, increasing frequency, increasing speed, that will actually move more passengers back and forth between those two cities. So it's a starting point, and then you build on that starting point.
Well, thank you, sir. And you know, I just go back to the mayor's opening comments, and she spoke about the strategic geographical location of Drummondville, and that very much is Essex County, is very much Windsor, right? Geographical. And so when we see here that it's the second phase, what time frame do you believe that Amtrak, all the infrastructure, all the resources will quote unquote land in Windsor, so that we have an idea to be prepared to connect this back to the rest of the system?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Chair and committee member. We don't like to say timeframes because we know what happens, you know, but I get in transportation. I can definitely give you a better idea, but our network development team is leaning into this. We actually have preliminary designs. We're talking with USCBP and CBSA about the design of the pre-clearance facility in Windsor. I understand there's motion on the Canadian side for funding for that project as well through Transport Canada. So we have both railroads, VIA and Amtrak, CBSA, CBP, as well as local government coalescing around this issue with all diligence to it. So don't have an exact timeline, but we can keep you abreast of the situation.
I'd appreciate that. That would be great. You kind of sounded like government when you said that you don't like to talk about timeframes. So that's respectable, and I appreciate your honesty. I want to talk briefly on. I mean, this project to date, I believe it to be true, has some pretty significant overruns, cost overruns. And I'm just curious, what does it look like in the States, in the United States? How is that budgeting, how is the forecasting been with regard to the success that the United States has had? And I know you mentioned a few jurisdictions that are very successful. How much overrun costs were there?
That, sir, I don't have any specific information on cost overruns. I know our network development and our state-supported departments work closely with the DOTs for planning and their forecasting and their annual budgets at the state level. It's actually an annual process in terms of incremental investment over time.
Okay, thanks very much. Appreciate it, Mr.